Here we are underway. In the south end, that big tan building with the red roof. That is the Fort William Henry Hotel. There's been a Fort William Henry Hotel there since 1855. Now as we go, Lake George is a pure, clean body of water. We wish to keep it that way, so please, no food items, no popcorn candy, no scraps, anything. Nothing can go in the lake, folks. Believe it or not, those food items can be toxic to fish and fowl. It is littering, and in the Adirondack Park, which you're in, it carries a very hefty fine. Well, you are in the southern basin of Lake George. Lake George is basically two basins, northern basin and southern basin. They're about the same size, and they are connected by a strip called the Narrows. It goes through a series of falls and rapids called La Chute. Falls a vertical distance over 120 feet. And some of the battles from the 1700s that took place there. Great place for families. They have walking paths. All go to a different monument or statue to such figures as Father Isaac Jones, the French Jesuit missionary, the first European to see Lake George. That's $1 Million Beach, built in the early 1960s when New York State wanted to create a swimming spot. So they brought in over $1 million of sand. And just orient yourself again, Lake George is primarily north and south, which is primarily residential, single-family homes. On a lot of commercial businesses, just a couple. Paul's Marina is down there in the corner. That's been there. They do a lot of work on old Packers and Chris Craft. But most of these are private homes, some year-round, but some are still pre-season. We're only here for the spring, summer, and fall. Water temperature is about 5 to 15 seconds. Yeah, you jump in, you're in for about 5 to 15 seconds before you're out. It's still pretty cold, folks. It's Memorial Day. Water temperature may be in the 40s, 50s, depending on where you are. And during the latter part of the summer, we'll get up into the 70s of Minne-Ha-Ha. You look through the trees, you see some of the beautiful original structures to the compound. Mary Wizzy Fuller fulfilled her dream, creating a very safe and very reasonably priced vacation spot for the working women, primarily out of Troy and Cohoes, New York, who worked in the textile factories of the day. Her dream continues. It is now a nonprofit. Minne-Ha-Ha exclusively caters to women. In July and August, it is exclusively for women's only. No men, period, end of sentence. And we got some friends out on the dock. We're going to say hello on our whistle.
Why is it raining?
It's not raining.
That's their new addition this year. They got a horn. Well, I mentioned Katrina Trask. She was quite the art aficionado. And if you look along the shore, you'll see the brown building in the corner, and then follow the shoreline, you'll see a blue marker. That's a New York State historical marker. And what they're talking about is in 1908, a young aspiring 18-year-old girl won a scholarship to the Artist in Residence program. She actually stayed in that chalet-style building in the back. That young woman, Georgia O'Keeffe. As we continue north, we see some beautiful homes along the shoreline. But if you look beyond the shore, look up the mountain, that's French Mountain. And French Mountain is the backdrop for James Fenimore Cooper's depiction of Last of the Mohegans. And seen the book or read the book or seen the movie, you've seen the stories or read the stories about characters such as Gingercook and Uncas and Hawkeye and Mogwai. The Marquis de Montcalm and his nemesis, the British General Monroe. Again, all in less than a year. Now I mentioned Lake George is a pure, fresh body of water and retains that quality because the waters that come into Lake George are through underground springs that come in the bottom of the lake. All of that precipitation on the mountains around, or it comes in through waterfalls or brooks. If you look off to our right, you see the green boathouse. Look just to the left or north, and there's one of the brooks, bringing that mountain water into the lake. And to the left of the waterfall, a beautiful point of land, which holds a national landmark, one of our historic landmarks. And there she is in this afternoon sun, our Statue of Liberty out there at the point. And right next to her are another national icon, our flag. And it's at this point in the cruise we like to offer a sincere thank you and salute to our veterans, our military, past, present, and future. Also all the EMS, the doctors, the nurses, the police, the fire, the EMS, all work to keep us safe and offer us the freedoms to be out here on this lake on this day, enjoying this beautiful Memorial Day weekend. So, from a vet to our vets and our military, a sincere thank you and salute. Thank you. huffing and puffing you hear, that is the Minnie doing her job. You see, the Minnie is one of the few remaining true steam-driven paddle wheel steamships. We take the water in, put it in a boiler. Take number 2 diesel fuel, turn that water into steam. It's that steam that's piped back to the engine room where it works 2 horizontally mounted reciprocating engines. And it's those engines that turn that big 12-foot red paddle wheel in the back. Yep, and we are truly only under steam power with the paddle wheel. That's all that drives the Minnie. Had that name till 1645 with Father Isaac Jones, the first European to see Lake George, a French Jesuit missionary. When he laid eyes on it, so enamored, he blessed it, Lac du Saint-Sacrement, Lake of the Blessed Sacrament. A Jesuit order out of primarily New York City, and they've been coming here for over 100 years. Judge O'Connor gave them this property when his wife didn't like it. She didn't like to come up to the lake, so he gave it to the Paulist Fathers. At that time, they built that house to the left that is original to the property. That's where the original Paulists stayed, and if you look in the middle, you'll see the steeped architecture. That was their original chapel. Well, no longer. That building is strictly for the fully ordained. The building to the right is now the dormitory for the student seminarians who come up in July and August. You get about 100 of them in the season. And if you look between the two, that is the building now that is their dining facility. Father Frank, that's his office right in the front. He's been here over 30 years, but behind it is a communal dining hall. And you can't see it, but to the left, they did build their own chapel up there. Beautiful, beautiful chapel. Unique, you see the trees, they literally grow out of the rocks. Now, Lake George is a glacier lake, and when the glacier receded, it did cut large swaths right through the rock. Right off those ledges, 100 feet straight down, and I mean straight. Side, that is the gray, that is Tumble Brook. For magazines, Better Homes and Gardens. Not only for their architecture, but the grounds, but primarily because the boathouses were built to mimic or match the homes in which they reside. If you look at the gray house, follow the shoreline, you see the little stone bridge? That's actually Tumble Brook. Yeah. Now the next one coming up, you see some construction equipment. Folks, this house has been under, we call this the forever home. That's somebody's forever home. It's been about 3-4 years that thing has been under construction now, so it is taking forever to build. on the left-hand side or port side.
I see it on here.
Now you see we've started to turn to the left, or we're going to soon be heading west. And as we come out more towards the middle, you can see the east shore does fall back. That goes into Dunham's Bay. So from that point of land there, it goes back about another mile and a half into Dunham's Bay. Anybody over there? That's the Dunham's Bay Lodge at the south end of that bay. And what you would think is the east shore is actually a peninsula. That's Assembly Point. Believe it or not, that peninsula at one time was privately owned and was a private hunting reserve. That was at the turn of the century. But no longer, that is strictly residential today. If we go back to Assembly Point, that gap there, that is a channel. Our sister ship, the Mohegan, she actually goes through there. That island to the left, that's Speaker Heck. That is strictly a camping island, day use only. This island here to the right, that is Diamond Island, the one closest to us. Again, that is a day use picnic island only. Diamond Island during the French and Indian War was actually a garrison for the British. They housed men and munition there as part of their logistical train to support their efforts against the French. But the West Shore at the turn of the century did get a nickname. Built by another Peabody brother. That was his private residence and is still a private residence today. That estate was originally owned by Adolph Ox, the original publisher of the New York Times. That was his. Unfortunately, most of his original houses and estate had burned down and been replaced, but original to the property is the boathouse that you see here along the lake. Has the flag out there. So they turned it into a destination for a lot of weddings, corporate events. So that's their banquet hall, some upscale accommodations. And pretty much every weekend during the summer, there is a wedding right out on that rock point over there, just off our stern. Mr. Woods is a local name. He was a local businessman, started a rather modest amusement park just south of Lake George. On 5 acres of land, he had 4 employees. Started in the early 1960s, called Storytown, Storytown, USA. Well, what we knew as kids of Storytown today is Six Flags Great Escape. Mr. Woods also had Gaslight Village, if anybody remembers that. That used to be right in the middle of the village, no longer. It's now Charles R. Wood Park. And they held a lot of activities there. And that was built for a Reverend Paxton. Reverend Paxton out of Lake George Village, or Caldwell at the time, where he had his church, and he called that home the Porches. Were purposely scuttled. They'd lash 5 or 6 together, sink them in order to keep them protected from the winter snows or the enemy destroying them. It was 7-sided and had sides that came up over to protect the people inside from artillery and cannon fire. 57, but it got away from them. They tried to do it over near Paulus Fathers, and off to our left, and it finally sunk in about 110 feet of water. And if you look south, you'll see the Fort William Henry Hotel, the Tan House. We're coming up on an island called Key Island. This is a privately owned island. We have a Sea Ray boat and a bunch of people on their dock. So what you're watching is them towing their dock out of the little cove, and they're going to bring it around the other side or the west side of the island and set their dock up for the year. So, folks, you don't see that every day, the launching of the dock. Folks, that's T Island. What you're looking at is a private island. Beautiful little cove there, and that's where they protect the dock and their boat during the winter. Good luck, guys. At the turn of the century, Tea Island was used as a tea house. The north end, they did have a tea house. People would row out and have afternoon tea. One of the notable figures that came to Tea Island, of course, was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And the rest has the red chimney up there. Tradition has that when steamboats come back into port, they play their calliope. That is our big steam pipe organ up here on the third deck. If noise bothers you, you may want to find your spot towards the back. I'll give you a minute to move, and then we'll play our calliope. There you go, the Codfish Ball at Further West, with the understanding that forever be open to the public and for swim. And it is, including New Year's Day, home of the Polar Club. Well, folks, we're about to start our docking procedures. You see our berth is empty. So I ask that everybody please find a seat, sit down. I need everybody sitting for the duration of the docking procedure. I can have nobody walking about the deck, nor can I have anybody on the stairs. So please, not on the stairs. Please keep all hands, feet, arms, legs, toes, everything inside the rails. There's going to be a temptation to reach out for those wooden pilings. Please, please resist the temptation, folks. Those pilings do not move. And regardless, I don't have a set of tweezers big enough to get that splitter out, so keep everything inside the rails. Folks, remain seated till the boat comes to a final stop. I'll come back on, let you know it's safe to depart. Sometimes we do land with a bump, don't want any accidents. And again, we do have to give that navigational whistle. So here comes the one long, loud blast.